Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Irene Anggreeni with us today. She is an anti-depression coach. She's all about psychological safety as a facilitator, and she helps sensitive tech leaders in their emotional health upkeep to create success at work without draining themselves. And her secret sauce is dance movement therapy. So we're going to talk about self-care, mental health, and self-compassion. Today is going to be a fun one. This podcast is presented to you by podpire.com. If you want to start your own podcast, scale it, and monetize the unconventional way, go to podpire.com. Irena, welcome to the pods. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Charles. So yeah, you introduced me already really perfectly. So that's what I'm all about these days, really about supporting business leaders and also leaders in corporate in their mental health and emotional health as well. I call myself as an anti-depression coach because that's really my specialty. I've been there myself. So I've overcome depression. And I know that especially when one is in a leading roles, struggling with mental health can be really tough. Like, like there's not even, the safety to open up, like in your work environment. And that's why I'm there, like to be the support so that, they also learn the skills to build their resilience, to build, the awareness of their emotional world and their self-care. So yeah, it's all about really creating sustainability of the person that especially now there's a lot of burnout on the rise, anxiety, and a lot of other mental health issues. So that's really what I'm all about.
You were a software developer for quite some time. Tell us about, your depression and how it happened.
Yeah, spot on that you mentioned. It was kind of when I was still working actually as a software engineer. So I come from Indonesia, and like for my bachelor and my follow-up studies, I was in the informatics in computer science world up till PhD. So I have PhD in industrial design engineering. But yeah, after I completed my PhD, actually I went back to the software engineering, and I was also an expat back then. So from Indonesia, I was living on my own, like in the Netherlands here. So I think that was all like a combined factors to like why I was feeling quite drained and quite down, because there was really stressful situation at my job, and also I felt unfulfilled. After having a PhD, like I thought I could do something impactful and meaningful, and I was back to kind of this role of like bug fixing and then like solving tickets and so on. And I also had no support system around me, like kind of like as an expat, that's I think something kind of I hear this a lot also from other expat people. So I had kind of for a while, like I'm still functioning, but I was always, it's really survival, day in day out. I just felt like, okay, I had to drag myself to work and then just go home and do nothing to recover. And at to the point that I was really not able to to cope with that anymore. So I was searching for psychological help here in the healthcare system, but it was also it was taking a lot of persistence and kind of a lot of obstacles to navigate. But eventually I found the right support for me. But it's also kind of especially like with the healthcare system, I'm aware that my time there is not limited. The support I get there is not unlimited. So I was keen to developing my own tools so that I can take care of myself. And that's kind of the start of this journey, why then I became, I trained as a therapist, as a dance movement therapist. And then I became a coach specializing in mental health.
Was it the job that caused the depression, or was it the startup itself, or both? Because in my opinion, while the startup is super challenging, yet it's also very rewarding, right? Because it's your own thing, but it's way more stressful, while the job is safe, but it's incredibly boring most of the time, depending on your mind. So which one was the most challenging?
For me personally, it was actually something much deeper. So there were, yeah, of course, like that's the factor, the external factor that was playing a role during that time, that I was feeling, yeah, unfulfilled, because like the job was like, yeah, what is this job? You know, I felt I was not shining. I was not putting my full talents into yeah, into something useful. But also now that I'm further ahead, like in my healing journey, I realized that it comes from something even deeper. Like there are, you know, like this unresolved, yeah, we can call it out, you know, traumas. There are some emotional traumas that was not processed, and I was, up until then, I was just keeping everything to myself. So what I didn't express, that actually what creates that depression. So I was kind of like always in that pattern of, yeah, kind of keeping it all, like bottling up all my emotions until it sort of implodes, maybe like, you know, like I crumbled into depression.
How were you made aware of these traumas of yours?
Yeah, through actually a lot of self discovery. So I was, you know, I was reading some books, actually some mindfulness book about anger. And I realized back then I was already kind of aware, oh yeah, you know, like I still, back I was maybe like in my late 20s, that I was still harboring a lot of, yeah, anger, and also sadness, loss, a sense of grief also towards yeah, how my family raised me, how my, you know, like how they treated me. But also, you know, this was explored a lot more deeper, like when I was going through therapy. So I did, yeah, quite a in-depth therapy for some years. And yeah, it was yeah, it was very confronting, because, you know, these things, like, yeah, those are kind of not something I easily shared, especially like in the Netherlands. You know, yeah, the best I could get was a therapist that speaks English, which is not my native language. So it's even like, yeah, just to express that yeah, that emotions is already kind of a big step. And that's also how eventually I came to explore the nonverbal, the creative world of therapy, dance movement therapy, because for me also in that, yeah, kind of, you know, like in that space and time, that expression was, I felt like words were so limited. So I needed like, okay, some other outlets where I could feel, yeah, there's no judgment, whatever, you know, even if I don't know the words, I don't feel stupid about not knowing my own inner world. And so that was kind of the, yeah, a bit of the journey.
Dance is interesting. My wife, she's Mexican, so it's like in her veins, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
like to, yes, sometimes follow Apple Fit dance workouts with her. It's kind of funny, you know. And yeah, I'm a mixed martial artist, so it's kind of interrelated to that. It's like shadow boxing if you want. Um, how does that help get the energy out, you know, because it's like brain and body connection, and it's like creativity, it's like stuck up energy, you know, because we know that trauma, it stays in the body as well. So tell us how dance can help release that trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, you said that, you framed that really wonderfully, you know, because like it's not only dance, but the movement in general can help us release the trauma. Because like it is what you said, yeah, kind of, I think that there's nowadays, like I know a lot of my friends, they already read the book The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. That, yeah, kind of trauma, it's like really that stuck energy of fight, flight, or freeze. Yeah, kind of when we face fear or really stress, And maybe like it's not just one-off thing, but it's a continuously like during childhood or during a period of time in your life. And then it becomes stuck because there are a lot of biochemical reactions in the body, a lot of hormones that, like connected to this fear that cannot be regulated, that cannot come back to the homeostasis, to the natural state. So that creates like, this the stuckness in the body. Either it's, like the fight or the flight or the freeze response. And by bringing movement, we start to kind of channel out, like to regulate down that all this biochemical reaction that's going on. But it's also kind of rewiring again, or like our mind body, because like when people who are going through trauma, like quite often they are disconnected from their body. Kind of there's the mind and there's the body, but it's not there's maybe like even dissociation from the body. But then like, okay, like gently, and this really needs some professional support, especially if we talk about trauma, because it's it needs to be gentle, it needs to be safe, but kind of inviting the one who's healing from trauma to explore again, to feel the safety in the body. So it is, kind of a dance could be one vehicle for that, especially, like if one is already keen dancer, because it is also it taps into a lot more, not just the body, but also the creativity and the expression. But I could also say the same thing about mixed martial arts, because you're also using your body, your coordination, and your creativity also in the moment to solve a problem. So it is how movement can support like our healing from trauma, actually.
As a founder or CEO, what are the symptoms that we should look for to see if we're about to burn out? And burnout, the definition being that, everything needs to hard stop, else, bad injury is gonna happen mentally wise. That's my definition of burnout. So what symptoms should we look for?
Okay. Yeah, the hard stop, if we could identify, if we could spot it earlier, that would be easier, like to prevent before someone is in severe burnout. But some of the symptoms could be, really feeling disconnected from your work, from your job, or from your colleagues. And maybe even there's some, internally, there's some cynicism about people, about, like about the world in general. And quite often also this is kind of a bit like showing as a bitterness, perhaps, like in how we respond to our surrounding, the energy level. So kind of, because indeed, like how it's called burnout, like like we are burning out our energy, our good energy. And we probably, like if we are on the way to burnout, we could feel really sluggish, or like demotivated to do anything, even things that were that we know would be joyful, actually.
Interesting. So, yeah, we should probably look for that, being irritable and, not forward looking, low energy as well, low sleep and some cognitive non-optimalness, if that's even a word. If you forget the things, if you're
Productivity.
tired, and you're just not fully there, you're not focused, not concentrated, and you feel that life is a pain, most likely, and especially work, and you're looking forward for that to stop. Like grind is good, hustle is good, but I think some people might overdo it. I think life is never like black or white. I do encourage startup founders to hustle and put in the time, but what should be the the filter to that? Should there be like self-care also, and make sure that your batteries are recharged? Like, what's the caveat to putting long hours and hard hours, but also being smart and filtering out this mindset with "I need to take care of myself" mindset? How should people think in that regards?
Yeah. What you mentioned already, kind of, I think especially someone who's very driven, who has no problem with working long hours, then probably that person also needs to schedule breaks, like really literally in the agenda, to really take that time, because like it's so easy to get carried away, especially if you're a passionate founder, you're working on something you really believe in. And there needs also to be a big shift in the mindset, because like, okay, hustling, grinding, working hard, there's of course there are times that we need to really do that, but we should also not forget, everything, like like the yin and yang, or the, the lemniscat, the infinity symbol, kind of, there are always the flow. Okay, we work hard, but then we also don't forget rest. So there's exertion, there's also recuperation, and that takes also the mindset of like especially for founders. It's not selfish to do that. It's really part of the productivity to include self-care, to include rest, to include recreation, so that you can serve your team better, that you can continue your success more sustainably, much longer in the future. Because what's the consequence? Because we probably feel like, like, we can take it all, but the reality is probably we are not aware when we are like, like we do, face like maybe already some burnouts, and then the consequence is even much bigger, especially if you're the founder of a young startup, kind of like the risk is much bigger if we go down that road. So that takes both, like, like the consistent action, but also the shift in the mindset.
And let's say I fall flat on my face and I indeed burn out, hard stop. How do you
Or
get back on your feet as quick as possible? Like me, I don't think that's realistic for me, because I think in terms of scale, I have driven my body down to some level. For example, last Friday, I fell on my mountain bike. I don't think it's because of burnout or anything, but I mean, it's a possibility that I could get injured body-wise. I think my mind is so strong that I just always get back on my feet. Who knows? But let's say that I break down mentally, not physically, right? Like mentally, and I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I can't do this anymore. Well, is that a good solution? Stop everything. I mean, sometimes it's not even rational. It's not like you ask yourself, I need to stop. It's just like your mind is like scared, and it's like, okay, I need to stop everything. What about that reaction? One, and second, if I ever come to that reaction, how can I get back on my feet as quick as possible?
I think when you come into that situation, Charles, the only way is really to give yourself that time, actually, because even if we fall flat on our bike, let's say, we don't immediately get up again and second, oh, I just fell. Okay, like, let me feel first. Is anything broken? Like, or how am I feeling? Like, oh, what do I need in this moment? So it's quite a similar, perhaps there's a parallel there with with the mental breakdown. Because like there's no point of forcing ourselves continuing the work, because we both know we won't be productive at all in that state. What we probably create is even more damages to ourselves, but also to the company, to the team. So it really takes that courage as well to, okay, let's take a moment, do a check-in, kind of like, what is this going on in me? And what do I need in this moment? And yeah, kind of, it's also what I always say to people, it's important as well to be daring to reach out for support, even if it's to loved ones or to a professional. But yeah, really kind of, to not be all by yourself in that situation, because yeah, we're humans. We are not meant to, like to be in that isolated place and we have to solve our problems ourselves. So to have that ability to reach out for support, that's also really a big form of courage.
Right. I mean, we're all different. I always laughing because like when I fell on my bike last Friday, like I look at my arm, which is still a bit messed up, and I
Oh,
was like, oh, is it bleeding a lot?
yeah.
Then I looked at the big hole in my arm, was like, no, it's not bleeding. So I continued my bike ride with my doggy so that they could get their exercise. And it seems I never stop, which could be like a very good thing or a very bad thing. Who knows? But one thing that is good and with me with that other founders could at least take notes that I think in micro terms and in 1% better every day. I take care of my body. I sleep good. I think about spirituality and I think on how to think as well. A lot. So that's like different OSs. What I could clearly say to people that, are constantly struggling and in deep mental pain on the daily basis, that then yeah, you probably need to have a hard stop and reconsider your stuff, because maybe you've built on on very shaky grounds. Me, the 1% better daily philosophy is that's not shaky. I've been on that path for like 10 years. And according to that philosophy, I'd be 36,000% better than I was 10 years ago, or some completely outrageous number. And that means I built like itsy bitsy bit by bit, like all my life areas, not just business, health, spirituality, mindset, relationships, lifestyle, finances. So yeah, and if you have traumas also, I had the luxury and the privilege to not have much trauma on my side, but if you do have these traumas, you need to take time, you need to talk to someone, probably someone like Irene here or a coach or a psychotherapist and fix that before you move forward. Would you agree with that, Irene?
Yeah, I think that, like, because if we are on our own trying to understand our trauma, it may feel like we are in an echo chamber, kind of, we are not going anywhere. So I think also it's really about kind of like the trauma can make us do that, isolating ourselves. Like I've been there first, in first experience. So really to break out, to reach out, to a professional or to someone you trust. That's already really kind of first step towards healing. So yes, I agree with what you shared, Charles. Yeah, I think that's very very also very gentle way of, like just aiming for 1% better. And that's also like saying about, like, okay, consistency. We don't set impossible goals before us, but we are being compassionate and kind also. Okay, 1%, that's, like no pressure, no, no stress. Like we don't need to also get all stressed out about our self-care, but we are doing that consistently. And yeah, for sure, like it will bring us some fruit in the future.
There you go. And it might be a friend also. Sometimes it's an app, like I have on my phone, Hey Pi, it's called. It's like a chat GPT, but for mental health. So that might be you if you're like more introverted or anything that can have you feel good and think and get insights. Sometimes I have an app on my phone as well. It's breath work, you just spend time by yourself, breathing under the sun. And yeah, I get like nice insights. So thank you today, Darina, for showing up. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, thank you for having me, Charles. And people who are curious to learn more about what I do, what insights I could offer them, You are very welcome to connect and say hello on LinkedIn. Yeah, so that's one way. And also check out my website, leadersthroughdepression.com. Yeah, so there I have also free resources, some mindful actions, like you mentioned about in this 1% better, and that's really from building that small habits that we, that brings joy and also that brings improvement in our life. So check out leadersthroughdepression.com for these resources.